American rapper Macklemore dropped a new song in support of Gaza titled Hind's Hall. The surprise release pays tribute to a 6-year-old Palestinian girl named Hind Rajab, who was killed in an Israeli strike on Gaza 2 months ago, as well as the ongoing protests around the world in favor of war-torn Gaza.
Sampling Lebanese singer Farid Farouz, the Grammy Award-winning artist took aim at capitalist greed, social media censorship, and white supremacy. He also dispelled the notion that the protests are anti-Semitic, rapping, quote, "We see the lies in them, claiming it's anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I've seen Jewish brothers and sisters out there and writing in solidarity and screaming Free Palestine with them organizing, unlearning." Pardon, I am not quite the rapper Macklemore is. Macklemore vowed all proceeds from streams will go to UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees, which of course was defunded by the United States after accusations that some of 4 employees out of the 30,000 in the region participated in October 7th attacks. The clip has gotten 24.7 million views on X, more than 75 million views on Instagram, despite being age restricted on YouTube, where it has been viewed many fewer times, fewer than 500,000 times. And partly people believe that the age restriction, that it's being argued by some that it is an effort, in fact, to restrict it having as much reach there. And that certainly does seem to be the effect. Many fewer people have watched it on YouTube than on these other
Certainly
sites.
When something is age restricted, that results in it getting fewer views. I haven't watched or listened to it, so I don't know, if there are clips of atrocities being shown. I can, in theory, understand the argument for doing age restriction.
We'll watch a little bit of the
play
clip now.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
The people, they won't leave. What is threatening about divesting and want a piece? The problem isn't the protests, it's what they're protesting. It goes against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free.
Yeah. So of course you see there Hind Hall, which is the hall formerly known as Hamilton Hall at Columbia University, which was occupied last week and renamed after. And remember, the story of Hind Rajab was particularly tragic because she had been killed and around her family she was able to access to call for help. The recordings of her calling for help while she was waiting around her deceased family members were particularly traumatic. And then the fact that the ambulances, the Red Crescent ambulance that has been sent to save her, was also bombed by Israel, seemed to be kind of emblematic of the cruelty that has been playing out over the last 7 months in Gaza. Interestingly, Hind's mother spoke out recently on what she makes of all of the Columbia student protests. And she said that when she saw what they had done, renaming the building after her child, she said, "I started crying because I wanted these movements and support to come while Hind was still alive. Why are others like Hind still going through this?" And says that she hopes the protests continue until there is a permanent ceasefire. But getting back to Macklemore and the lyrics, this reminds me a lot of the kind of Richmond, north of Richmond discourse in some ways, although it seems there's less ambiguity around what the core meaning of the song is. People parsing the lyrics to the Macklemore song don't have to guess at what his overall politics are. Interestingly, he specifically blames Biden. He says, "Destroying every college in Gaza and every mosque, pushing everyone into Rafah and dropping bombs. The blood is on your hands, Biden. We can see it all, and F no, I'm not voting for you in the fall." You know, I
Losing the Macklemore vote.
Well, you can say what you want to say about how persuasive or impactful Macklemore is, but at other moments in American history, there's been much more participation from creatives in movements. Think about all of the music, rock music, folk music that came out of the 60s and 70s that was about protesting Vietnam, that was about peace movements in America and around the world, and how that helped to foster a culture where participating in those kind of movements, frankly, was seen as socially acceptable or almost emblematic of an entire generation's politics, without exception.
Have we seen other people in the music industry speaking up and making similar songs?
I think that this moment, the fact that Macklemore was willing to stick his neck out and do this, has caused a lot of folks to look really critically and skeptically on others in the industry who have not. Specifically, DJ Khaled, who is a very prominent, very famous Palestinian-American hip-hop artist, has been notably completely silent on this, even though other prominent Palestinian Americans, Bella and Gigi Hadid, the sisters, we talked about them very early in this conflict, they were criticized roundly by various kind of Israeli media figures for tweeting solidarity with Palestine on their social media accounts or posting about it on their social media accounts. I mean, there has been a lot of backlash, people who've said the bare minimum. And so people like DJ Khaled, I think there's more of an expectation because they are one of the few prominent Palestinian Americans here. Their silence speaks volumes. We covered, I think, at the Oscars, various people wearing pins in solidarity. There was obviously the speech made by the Jewish director of the Holocaust movie that won an Oscar, whose name I'm blocking for some reason at this moment, and all the backlash against their statement.
What about the Met Gala going on this week? Was there similar anger from people on the left that there wasn't enough acknowledgement or appreciation that there was acknowledgement?
Yeah, I don't know that it was from the left particularly. Again, remember that over 60% of Americans do think that this violence needs to come to an end and an immediate and lasting ceasefire. But I think online, at least, the contrast between the imagery coming out of the Met Gala and the imagery that was coming out of the ground invasion of Rafah that had just started was really jarring on the timeline. And I saw Breakthrough News and some other outlets intentionally putting these videos side by side to kind of beg the question of what we're doing here. Are we as a country living in a kind of Hunger Games where we're having extreme lavish frivolity happening so close to people who are demanding basic rights and survival of 2 million people living in the Gaza Strip? There were, of course, protests outside of the Met in New York, protesting exactly that, why there is so much attention being paid to kind of a show of affluence and celebrity, while none of those celebrities seem to think it was worthwhile to use their platform to bring attention to what's going on in the Gaza Strip.
That does it for us on Rising Today. We'll be back tomorrow.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. For those of you who like to listen while you're on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Bye-bye.
Take care.